Hi there, in this lesson you're going to learn how to use substitution to solve systems of linear equations. So the first thing that we have is a system of linear equations, and I notice that one of the variables is isolated. Y is by itself on one side of the equal sign. So that's when we would choose to use substitution to solve this equation, especially if I don't have graph paper handy. So the first step is to circle anything that equals y, since y is the one that is isolated. So we're going to circle anything that equals y. So I have a y here, so circle the y. Circle anything that equals y. So I'm going to circle this, I'm going to circle this, and I'm going to circle this. Everything in my equations is equal to y. Then I'm going to replace any circle with any other circle to create an equation that I can solve. So I'm going to take this y and I'm going to put it in for that 10x minus 2. So if I take that away, now I have y equals y. That does not help me. So let's go ahead and put this y back. And put the 10x minus 2 back. And let's replace this 6x plus 14. And let's try to put that in for this circle of y. So let's move that away. Let's put this in. And now I see that I have created an equation that I can solve for x. So let's get rid of this 6x plus 14. And now I'm ready to solve for x. So now I'm going to draw my line. And the step 3 that I'm working on right now is to solve the new equation. So I draw my line. I subtract 6x from both sides to get the x's on the same side. The 6x minus 6x is 0. 14 drops down. 10x minus 6x is 4x. And minus 2 drops down. Now to get the 4x by itself, I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So that results in 16 equals 4x, and the minus 2 plus 2 cancels out to be 0. And finally, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So that gives me 4 equals x. So what I've done is I found out what x equals. Now I'm going to take this 4 equals x and I'm going to plug it in to one of the original equations to solve for the other variable. So I have my original problem there again, and I know that x equals 4. So I'm going to take this 4 and I am going to plug it in for that x right there. So now I'm going to have y equals 6 times 4 plus 14, and I can find out what y is. So let me do that down here. Y equals 6x, which is 4, plus 14. So that equals 24 plus 14. So that means y equals 38. So what I've just done is I have found out that my answer is the point 4, 38. Remember, x comes before y in my ordered pairs. So I have solved that. And my last step is to check to make sure it works in both equations. Since I just plugged it into the top one, I know it works there. So now I have to plug it in to the bottom equation. So I'm going to take my 4 and I'm going to plug it in for that x now. That's my bottom equation. So we get y equals 10 times 4 minus 2. So y equals 40 minus 2. And that gives me y equals 38, which is what I got originally. So that means that it has worked out. And my final answer is 438, which is right here. So that's my final answer. Here is another example that's a little bit different, but we start with the same steps. So I'm going to circle anything that equals y, since y is isolated in the top equation. So let's circle anything that equals y. So that equals y, that equals y, and that equals y. Nothing else equals y. The negative 5 doesn't equal y because y is not by itself on the bottom. So this means that I can replace any circle with any other circle to create an equation to solve. So if I want to replace these two y's and switch those, that won't change anything. So I'm going to take this y and put it in for that circle here. So let's take a look at what that looks like. I'm going to take this y and plug it in for that y. And let me get rid of that other y there. So now I have an equation that I can solve for x. So we're going to solve this equation for x. I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to combine like terms. 2x plus 2x is 4x. Then we have that plus 3. And then we have the equals negative 5 here. I'm going to subtract 3 from each side. So now I have 4x. The 3 minus 3 equals 0. And negative 5 minus 3 equals negative 8. And then I divide by 4. So I get x equals negative 2. Once I get x equals negative 2, I'm ready to plug it back into one of the original equations. So I have my original equations right there. I'm going to take this negative 2 for x, and I'm going to plug it back into my original equation right there. So now I have y equals 2 times negative 2 plus 3. So if I bring that down here, I have y equals negative 4 plus 3. So my y value is negative 1, which means my solution to the system is negative 2 for my x and negative 1 for my y. That is my answer. So now it's time to check to see if that works in the equation for the bottom one. So we are working on checking to make sure that it works. So I'm going to change colors here so you can see what I'm doing better. I'm going to take this equation right here, and I'm going to plug negative 2 in for the x in that equation. So now let me copy the equation down. It is 2x plus y equals negative 5. And I'm going to plug negative 2 in for the x. So I'm going to plug it in right there. So I have 2 times negative 2 plus y equals negative 5. I'm going to draw my line and solve. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, plus y equals negative 5. And then I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So negative 4 plus 4 is 0, which leaves me with y equals negative 1, which is what I got right here. So that means I was correct. That means it's right. And again, my solution is the negative 2, negative 1 that I see right here. So that's my solution.